Zoom and I have been falling out this week. It seems better now.
Meg, you already are recording.
Oh, I've got another thing. I've got an autopilot that's recording. Thank you. Yeah, I saw that too. And I've made that mistake before and actually not recorded the actual video, which is what happened before. So yeah, don't worry. I'll get techie soon. I promise. So today I wanted to share something that I've been thinking about with the revenue challenge. So before we do that, I wanted to do a quick kind of update on what's been going really well this week. Anything you want to share, I would like you to think about. You can pop in the chat, you can unmute, you can do whatever you like, you can just say it, write it, whatever. 2 things that have gone well this week. So we're going to take a couple of minutes just to do that in case you haven't done that. And then feel free to drop in the chat. You can just type it. You can unmute yourself whenever you're ready. 2 things you're celebrating yourself for.
To give an update. For me, 2 of the things. One is just sort of connecting with more leads. I was encouraged last week by Scott, your update on reaching out to more contacts, and yeah, been doing a lot more of that. And I found that like a lot of people are almost speaking my language before we even touch on what I want to talk about. So which is really, really nice to see that engaged what I'm doing. And then also showing up a bit more. That was always my plan for this year, especially March, January. Been doing lives every week. So yeah, I'm
That's awesome. Well done. Can you like put it down to anything? How do you feel? How do you feel having like achieving those things? What does it feel like to be able to say it? And well done, firstly, because those are 2 massive things that grow your sales engine consistently. So I want to just like build mini clap of applause. It's a round of applause. It's not a clap of applause, but you know what I mean.
Thank you. No, it feels good. I feel proud, and I want to see more results, but at the same time, I'm in my head. It's like I'm doing the right thing, and I think that's given me like an edge and a bit more confidence. So yeah, feel good.
Thanks for sharing, and well done. Anyone else ready? Oh, typing in. Perfect. So we got some notes. Got future program alignment. This sounds very snazzy. Future program alignment session.
You're snazzy.
Habit stacking and amazing. Okay, great. Nice. Round of applause for Scott. Thank you for sharing. Those are 2 big things. Vicky caught up on a lot of client work too. I'm alive. Busy. I know the feeling. Oh, Sorrel, signed your first ever couple. This is massive. Well done. I'm so happy for you. And reasonably good job of their first session. Awesome. Nice. Thank you for sharing. Tash, did you want to share 2 things?
I had a bit of a crazy week with family and stuff. My daughter starts school next week, so I've been preparing a lot of bits and pieces for that. But one really nice thing happened that I mentioned I was going to be on the cover of a magazine that's launching this week. And so the editor phoned me to ask me if he could have a print to give to the Minister of Culture as a gift. So that was a really nice thing for me. I was very, very pleased with that. So that I think that's going to happen on Friday, maybe at the event, but I'm not sure. He just asked me, so I said yes, of course. So that's a nice thing for me. Yeah,
that's a fantastic thing. Congrats, that's really big. I love it. Thank you. I like to start with the good news, and then we can get into all the stuff that's been a challenge. But let's start with like what's been going really well. I'm so happy for everyone, and celebrate yourself. This is really key. If you don't celebrate yourself, who else is gonna? I know I'm here to celebrate you, and I will every single week, but you've got to keep doing it for yourself every single time you do something amazing. Write it down, celebrate it, and give yourself a massive pat on the back for doing it. Doesn't even matter how small it is. I think we talked about this last week. Make it a habit, because you don't want to get to the end of a week and think, what have I actually done? Because sometimes that happens. When I ask my clients, I say, how's your week been? And they go, oh, I didn't really do anything. And then we actually start talking, and it's not true. They've done loads of things. They just didn't write them down and they forgot. So it's really good as a kind of constant reminder to yourself, especially in a challenge, especially when you're doing new things. When it feels hard, it feels kind of like a pain in the ass, let's be honest. When you're doing new things and learning new skills and you're not yet good at it, it feels really hard because you haven't reached the level of, it's kind of like playing the piano or playing any instrument or singing a tune or anything you do, riding a bike. When you're learning and you're falling off a lot, it sucks and it's really difficult. And it's the same for learning new skills in business. So anything that keeps you getting back on the bike or, you know, sitting down at the piano again to do 3 blind mice, whatever it is that you're learning, just keep doing that for yourself, because no one ever sits down at a piano and like can play a sonata from nothing. Like maybe Mozart could, but I mean, he didn't have a business. I'd like to see him trying this stuff. So just give yourself a lot of grace and congratulate yourself as you go through. Hi, Tim. Nice to see you. Okay, amazing. So thank you so much for sharing your updates. Tim, we just shared a couple of things that have gone really well this week. So do you want to share 2 things that you're really pleased you've done, or 2 things that have gone great, or 2 things you'd like to celebrate?
Apologies for being late. I'm stuck in the Zoom. Yeah,
Okay.
the consistency of how I'm sending out my message and sending it within a story. I'm starting to see a lot more people that have never commented before, that aren't even following me, are now commenting.
Ooh, that's great.
So I've got people who are liking and also commenting, and when I go on their profile, they're not even followers. So that means that my reach is expanding outside, and LinkedIn's liking what I'm doing. So it's that, yeah, that consistency of what I'm doing. Yeah. So I think that's the biggest one for me. That's been very good. Brilliant.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing it. Okay, so let's get into the thing I wanted to share today, and then we'll talk a little bit about very tactical stuff to help you towards your revenue goal. So we're going to have half me on a soapbox doing a little rant at you about the mindset required to do this, and hopefully that will be helpful. And then we're going to do some really tactical stuff, and then we're going to do coaching. So anything that you have struggled with or not done or felt has been difficult, please make a note of any questions. And you may just be prompted as I'm talking. You might have some questions pop up. So we'll save that for the last 20 minutes, I think, for the coaching. And let's see if we can get through the whole lot. Okay, so first off, something that I've been thinking about with this challenge, and something that is almost the point of this challenge, is to understand the difference between positive pressure and negative pressure. So this is something that I've been thinking about a lot in my business, and I've embraced a lot in my business, is positive pressure. So what I mean by positive pressure is not running around like a headless chicken and doing 50 million things at once and stressing yourself out. That's kind of unwanted. Got a crazy hair sticking up, it's annoying me. That's unwanted pressure. That's internally driven / external validation pressure, if that makes sense. That's thinking you should be doing all the things because you're measuring up against somebody else, or something that somebody told you, or a goal that doesn't quite feel right. I see that as negative pressure or just not useful pressure. What I'm talking about is this kind of, it's internally driven, but it doesn't feel bad. So some might, oh, I like that. Pressure is a privilege. It's a quote for the day. Thank you, Scott. Only comes to those who earn it. It's very good. You're just like a quote machine. I don't know where you got that from. Thank you. That's brilliant.
That actually, so sorry to hijack. So as the players come on to center court at the US Open, Arthur Ashe Stadium, right? That is the quote, which is in the final tunnel as they get onto the court.
Oh, snap. I did not know that. And I did also forget that she was a tennis player. She
Meg, she's one of the greatest female tennis players.
She won the infamous battle of the sexes back in the 70s.
Got you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, pressure, this positive pressure, and some might call it drive, ambition, motivation, like whatever you call it. I like to think of it as pressure, because I think pressure in itself is a useful word. We have really strong negative associations with it, I think, because we've all probably experienced unwelcome or unuseful pressure from jobs, family, society, ourselves. You know, that's just it. Generally, feeling pressure is never really said in a good context, as far as I can see. But I think it can be a really positive thing when it comes from the right source, when it comes from the right energy source or internal, I just want to say turbine. I don't know why, turbo, kind of like your energy generating thing within you. When it comes from that, really rooted in your reason for doing it and really rooted in you loving all those reasons, it can be an extremely powerfully positive way of feeling. Not, and again, this comes back to not to fight yourself about it or use it as a rod, you know, beat yourself up about it and say, I should have done this, I should have done that, woulda, coulda, nonsensing, all of that nonsense. I don't do any of that. But when it comes from like, these are the things I've chosen to do, and these are the reasons I've chosen to do them, and I'm going to do them, that's a highly positive place to be in. So I really like playing around with this. Doesn't mean you have to hustle. It doesn't mean you have to do terrible things. I'm just going to move my cat because I think she's going to pee on my bed. Sorry, TMI, but... So glad that the Otter recording is going to have that on it, the transcript. So it's a really positive thing to play around with. So I think a challenge like this creates a sense of positive pressure. You may all disagree with me and just be like, no, it's terrible. It feels dreadful, which is not the point of it, because the point of it is not to say, I'm going to achieve this and I'm going to feel terrible if I don't. That's completely the opposite point of this challenge. It's really here to uncover your thoughts and feelings in the day, in every single day as you do your business. When you set a finite goal and a finite timeline, it forces out all the things you actually think about it. That's the purpose of it, because we have them all in our brain already. We're not aware of them. So when we look at our results, for example, maybe last year you set a goal of 20K and you made 2. So you could look at those results and feel terrible and feel like, oh, this is terrible. I knew it wouldn't work, and I knew I wasn't good enough, and my family all told me to get a job, and you know, whatever. But when we see the result does not match the goal or the thing that we decided we'd like to do, it's because there's these thoughts happening subconsciously. You just didn't even know they were there. So that's the difference between setting and achieving a goal and setting and not achieving a goal, is because your actions and thoughts are being driven by stuff you didn't even know was there. You didn't even know that those thoughts were running the show, because so much of our thoughts, daily thought, is subconscious. Just a huge proportion of what drives us is habitual and subconscious, or just not aware. So much of it is just happening by default, because we're humans, we're lazy. Our brains are trying to conserve energy in case we need to run away from a saber-toothed tiger. So it chooses the path that's already there, because it doesn't like to think about new things, because it's lazy. Our human brains are lazy. They want to conserve energy and do the thing that we know to do, which is why learning new stuff feels so terrible sometimes, because it forces us, forces your brain to use bits that it hasn't done before, which is really hard work and feels like, oh, what pain in the bum. So this is why I like this challenge, because it will bring up all the things that you subconsciously think and believe and feel about yourself and your business and your goal and humans and what you're offering. And so my ask and request is that you write them down. For example, I'm going to kind of give you an example of what this looks like for me, and then you can think about what has come up for you, because it's not about writing down all the like bad thoughts and ignoring them or trying to change them. We need to write out the things that are running the show so we can look at them. That's all we're doing. We're just looking at these thoughts. We're just looking and saying, oh, is that a useful thought? Nobody wants to buy. Say that's your thought. Is it a useful thought for me taking big actions in my sales? No. Because if you're thinking nobody wants to buy this, or this is too expensive, or cost of living crisis means no one's spending, or whatever, any other thing that you may be picking up on or thinking about or believing, just prod it, just write it down and just be like, is that actually true? No. No thoughts are actually true, right? Whether they're good, bad, in between, doesn't really matter. They're not facts. They're opinions that you've just said to yourself over and over again, or you've heard from other people that you're taking as truth, and you're allowing to run what you do. So it's so helpful just to get them out. For example, I increased my prices last year. Towards the end of last year, I thought, well, I can't tell everyone to increase their prices and not increase my prices. So I think I'd better had. So I increased my prices at the back end of last year for my private coaching. And I had to sit down with myself, and it took, I will tell you, about 2 months to actually get on board with it. It took 2 months from deciding to actually saying the new number out of my mouth and not feeling like I was going to be sick. 2 months. So just so you know, there's a process. Everyone goes through this process, but I had to sit down. I had to write all the things, all the reasons why I thought someone wouldn't pay the new price. I just had to imagine, because this is a really good trick, because all the stuff you think your clients are saying, that's actually what you think about the price. So if you think nobody's going to pay that, it's because you're thinking, I wouldn't pay that. We think that we know what people think. Don't, unless we ask them, unless they tell us in words. So we just wander around in this bubble thinking that we know what our clients are thinking and feeling and why they're doing this and why they're doing that and why people aren't buying. I mean, literally, we're just making it up. So I had to write down all the reasons why I thought people wouldn't pay it. And I had to examine each one, and I had to prod it, and I had to coach myself like I'm coaching you guys. And I had to do all of that process on myself. And I had to write down the new reasons that I would like to, the new things I would like to think about. like literally like 2 columns, the left and the right. And then I had to go to work every day to remind myself the thoughts on the right-hand side, and then find new reasons for that every day, new reasons to think that's great. Like, oh, they love to pay this because this is such a massive over deliver, because I had to do that every day. Is this making sense? So just know that having those thoughts and feelings about selling and about people buying is completely normal. Hopefully this has prompted some more of those thoughts to come out into the air. So to come out into your conscious mind, so that you can notice it next time between, for example, you might want to do a video, you might want to do a Facebook Live or a LinkedIn something or a webinar. And then maybe you stop yourself because you're not aware there's a thought running the show, which is people don't want to hear this, or they've heard it before, or I don't know what to say, or is this going to be helpful, or who am I to say this? Like, pick any number one of those, the usual stuff that stops us from getting out and being highly visible. And then next time you'll notice it in a shorter period of time. You'll notice it in real time instead of noticing it the day after or on a call with me once a week. So it's just that kind of muscle memory almost of noticing what you're doing and noticing what you're thinking when you're doing it. That's it. And then try and capture those thoughts as you go through your day. Like, I planned to send 10 new connection requests. What happened when I sat down to make 10 new connection requests? Did I go on Facebook instead? I'm just literally giving you an example of my week that I was saying to a client yesterday. We were talking about time blocking. And I was like, I noticed I went to do something on Facebook to do with an event. I spent probably 10 to 15 minutes just doing, I don't know what I was doing. Couldn't tell you. It definitely wasn't business related. But just know that that's a whole different topic. Okay, so does that make sense? So positive pressure, understanding what drives that, how to tap into your own positive pressure. It's not a bad thing. It can be a highly useful thing. It doesn't mean comparing or thinking you should be doing something different. And then secondly, to take large actions and consistently bigger actions than you've done before, you will have to see and be confronted with some of these thoughts. Because as you take the step to do the new thing, your brain will give you lots of things, lots of reasons why you shouldn't. And they can be really smart. Your brain's super smart. It will dress it up as a very reasonable, quote unquote, reasonable reason. You ever had that? Oh, I can't do that because I don't know the technical back end thing, blah, blah, blah. And I've got to go speak to this person. They're not free. So they've got to wait till tomorrow. Stuff like that. No, it's your brain trying to protect you to keep you safe. That's it. So as you go through this and you're trying to do new things, just literally make a snapshot of, why didn't I do that? What's going on? What's my thought here? Is it useful or is it not useful? And then just choose it. You get to choose. You get to just bin, literally write the thought down. The most powerful thing is seeing it. And then you can speak it and share it with other people. And then you can see what they think. They'll just be like, yeah, that's not true. And you'll be like, oh, great, isn't it? Cool. I can just forget that for now. Know that I'm always going to feel a certain level of doubt and just carry on. Okay. Any questions on that? Anything that's you're like, oh, what's happened? Does this sound like anything that's happened this week for anyone? Yeah. I see some nodding. Do you want to share, or you can type in the chat if you... Yeah.
I'll share. So, it's funny. I had my first couple session yesterday, and I'm still telling myself I'm not ready to see any couples yet. And then I say to myself, well, if I'm seeing a couple, I must be somewhat ready. And I'm always one training ahead of my couple. As long as I keep, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. As long as I keep up with the training, which I am doing, I'm always one step ahead of them. And I always know that 10% more that you need to know to be good enough.
And are they coaches, your couple?
No, they're not coaches. No. Oh, that does help.
I don't think you're one step ahead. I think you're about like 15 years plus one
Oh,
step
I probably am, but I'm saying to myself, every week I do the next training, and that's like the next stage in the process. So I always know what the master does when he's with a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still, yeah. So I wrote down, I'm getting ready a week / training at a time.
Brilliant. Yeah, our brains will tell us all kinds of useful and unuseful things all day long. Notice this? I read something really good today, which was from a friend of mine. She wrote on LinkedIn, the only person who hears everything you say is you. Like, that's so good. So just be really careful what you say to yourself. Thank you for sharing, Sorrel. That's really useful. And I think that also speaks to the it's kind of like we don't understand just how valuable your offer is because you're inside your own brain and you're not in your client's brain. You see? So you're over there thinking, I'm one step ahead, I'm 1 week ahead. I've got the tools and I only need to be that little bit ahead. Whereas their perception is going to be vastly different. And the value they're receiving is vastly different to this is what I think.
Yeah, and actually I got some lovely feedback from after the discovery call, which is that they felt held. And in a sense, that's what they need because they can't hold each other. So they have me to hold them while they learn to hold each other. And that in itself was, well, it was amazing. A huge boost to my confidence. That's good.
Very good. Yeah, that's fantastic feedback. Well done. Thank you for all these notes. Okay, lovely. Thank you, Scott, for sharing those. Oh, I'm going to download that. Anyone else? Any other things about positive pressure or big challenges and thinking? Anything else that's come up as I've been talking through that you've kind of read? Oh, Tim, sorry, your hand. Yes.
Just a tip that maybe somebody would take away and use. You're welcome to. I didn't create it. When I first started out in practicing my modalities for my course and speaking, I had the philosophy, do it anyway. My brain would tell me, but you're not ready. And I had a little sticker posted, do it anyway. But there's only 4 people have registered, do it anyway. I just don't have enough material, do it anyway. And that made me start. Whatever positive, negative, whatever that crap was going on, do it anyway.
I love that. Thank you. It's a really good one. We'll post it.
I'm gonna piggyback on Tim's because that is so spot on. And to your point, Meg, right? The way I've heard it described is the terror zone, which is when your conscious brain and your subconscious brain disagree. And that is when your fight or flight response is going to come out. So Tim is spot on in terms of do it anyway and shut your subconscious brain up for a second.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. This is but the thing is, it's so difficult. We know it. And then yet it comes to doing it and it seems wrong. You ever had that? It seems actually incorrect, which is why sometimes when I hear a lot of talk about alignment and being in the flow and all of that stuff, sometimes I think it's just nervousness dressed up, if I'm being honest. Because sometimes you're going to feel at odds with your inner self, because you're a human being who's evolved to have a fight, flight, or freeze response to doing new things. So it's a really difficult one. And I'm not saying to ever do things against your values or what you believe is right. Of course, you always measure against that as a kind of a guiding point. But I think there is so much that to be said for just do it anyway and then see. Because you'll know really quick. Yeah, sorry, Tash.
I was going to ask a question because I'm a great fan of following my instinct and my gut feeling. So when we're coming into instincts and gut feelings, how does that balance up against conscious and subconscious brain? What's your instinct? Is that your subconscious brain, or is that something completely different? Just interested to know on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, because yeah, Tim, I'd love to hear your point.
Your gut instinct is what's inbuilt inside of you, that is your guide. Always follow your guide. That's your subconscious. Your conscious thinking brain is that 5% of our daily thinking processes. So always follow the guide. So even if you're like, okay, I got to do this anyway, but if the pain of doing it, that negative pressure is so intense, that's a sign. Listen to the sign. Because if you go against that sign, excuse my language, it will fuck up. And you're going to then knock your motivation. So go with the flow. If you can go with the flow, but doing it anyway just pushes yourself forward, but it's not against, exactly what Meg says, against your values, your morals, and that sign, that negative pressure, all it is a sign. Read the sign. Hang on a second. My gut's telling me that's not the right way. Stop, breathe. What about this? Oh, okay. Because your conscious thinking mind went, what the hell? Why aren't you listening to me? Your subconscious said, now I can talk. Listen. That's your gut. Go with the flow. Does that help?
That's a really good way of describing it.
Well said, Tim. And Meg, to your point in terms of flow, right? One of the things I've heard recently along the way is the concept of expand your flow. And what this means is do things which are close to where your strengths are, but are net new. So that you have it stack in terms of, all right, brain, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do something that you may have reservations or whatnot, but they're pretty close to what you already know you can do anyway, right? So pushing just that little bit further, that incremental step in order to get you out of your comfort zone.
Oh, that's a good one. Thank you for sharing that. So it's kind of like your strengths adjacent, so that you know enough for it not to be totally terrifying, but it's still outside of your current zone of knowledge and skill. Like that. That's really good. It's a smart way of thinking about it. Ooh, thank you. I think we'll have 10 minutes to talk about, hang on, let me think. Actually, let's do a revenue update, if that's okay. You can drop in the chat. How much money have you made this week? Or how much money have you made since January when did we start? January the 3rd. That can be an invoice that you sent in October that paid this week, by the way. Any cash that you've invoiced out. I'm going to bend the rules, you guys. How much money have you made in January? I'm not going to include lottery winnings in case anyone's won the lottery. That's not going to be included. Nice, thanks, Sorrel. Nice. So Vicky, you've invoiced 3K out. Sweet. Well, that's nice. What was your goal? Was it 20K or 10K? Okay, perfect. I thought it was 10. Nice. So you have, so what date are we on? The 17th. Okay, this is really, really good. 509 cash in the bank. I just want to make a ka-ching noise. Ka-ching. Let's do it. Or I'll just feel silly and do it by myself. 0. Joe, we're going to talk. We're going to have a chat. Don't worry. That's going to be off of 0. I'm going to try my absolute level best to get you off of 0 by February the 4th. This is what we're doing. February the 2nd, sorry. Tim, do you have a revenue update? Did you do it? It's all in the universe. Waiting for the download. Amazing. So that you see Joe for like 0 and Tim's like, it's in the universe. I'm waiting for the download. Different ways to describe the same thing. It's awesome.
So the answer is 42, Tim, right?
What was the question?
It's from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The answer to life, the universe, and everything is 42.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly, and thanks for all the fish.
I got it, Scott. I got it.
I did not get that at all. Vicky's now going on holiday, so you're completing. Okay, so you're doing the rest of the challenge. When do you go on holiday, Vicky?
I go on holiday Thursday evening.
Lovely. Okay. And also, I want to also say, because you're on holiday, it doesn't mean you stop making money.
No, it doesn't, but I am having a break from work.
I understand. So you can, because what's valuable in making money? Like, how does the process work? I would love to just put this out. So anyone that has an answer to this, please just unmute yourself or put in the chat. How do you make money? Like in a business, what's the way that you make money? What are the steps? In broadly speaking, what has to happen for you to make money?
I have some passive income stuff, so selling things like that. It's very small. Don't get excited.
That's okay. It doesn't matter. It's money. It doesn't matter how small or how big, it's the same. I know it's not the actual same because the amount's different, but it's the same process. So
I mean, and focus group of 1, and I've been known to be wrong before, right? It all gets down to connection at the end of the day. When you have the ability to have that engagement with another individual and party, and whether it be through the truths that you're telling, the vision that you're selling, how you're making them feel, etc., right? That you have reached a point of connection where their impulse emotionally to purchase outweighs their logical brain telling them, please don't do that, right? So as an example, right, I said 0 and I'm fine with that, right? So I had 2,000 in projected accounts receivable that was supposed to come in, right? Guy gets back to me and starts pushing back and say, I'm not sure I can do that. I'm not sure I can do that at this price, etc. And I said, well, here's the deal, dude. First, I gave you a very sweetheart offer. Secondly, I've actually revamped that program to be twice as long, and it's now $3,000, not $1,000. So you either say yes, or I'm just going to go ahead and reset the price and go on my merry way.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said, no, I can't do it. And I'm like, fine, go, bye, right? Because at some point you have to stand your ground to say, what is the value that you deliver to the marketplace? Otherwise, you're just going to get trampled over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And also, the thing in there, which I want to pick up on and sort of contextualize for everyone, is You show up and stand in your value. You connect what they need to the value. So that's like the second bit, because there's you over here with the value saying, I've got this amazing thing. Come and have a look. It's really great. Just imagine you're selling ice cream. Let's make it really silly. So you've got ice cream van, you've got 3 different flavors, and you're like on a loudspeaker saying, come and have some ice cream. It's really cool. You're really hot. It's a really hot sunny day. There's lots of kids playing in the park and they all want ice cream. So you're over there saying, I've got ice cream. It's going to be delicious. Come and try the ice cream. And they're like walking past, thinking, I'm really hot. Oh, there's ice cream. Oh, I feel like I could eat some ice cream right now. Then they come over and they're like, oh, £2.50 is too much. I don't want to pay. I don't want to be refreshed and revitalized for £2.50. I'm not prepared to exchange this £2.50 for feeling really cool. You see, that's where selling comes in. That's the selling part. So the what I'm hearing, and thank you for these notes as well. So Tim, absolutely, provide a service, be a valuable service that people need and want, connect with them, show them why it's going to help them, and explain how that works. With ice cream, probably not so necessary. I think people know how ice cream works. You eat it, you feel good. But because of what we're doing in the offers that you have, and we have, it's that emotional connection, yes. But I think there's also the logical bit as well, because your buyers buy in different ways. Some will be emotionally led. Like I think most people are emotionally led, and we post reason to ourselves once we want something, basically. House buying, I don't know, whatever. Buying a puppy, you know, we want the thing, and then we post reason and we logic it out to our thinking brains so that we feel better about the decision. So yes, you're 100% right. And it's the value, it's the exchange of value and communicating that what you have is it's worth more than the money in their pocket. They'd rather have your thing than the money in their pocket, the money in their bank. Do you see? That's how making money works. So whenever you think to yourself, oh, I'm like, for example, Vic, and I'm not picking on you. I'm not saying you should work on holiday, 100% be on holiday, but even even you thinking about this whilst you're on holiday and having ideas about providing value and actually putting value out into the universe, to Tim's point, it's going to come back as money at some point.
Yeah, I have planned to revisit the stuff that we've been doing and just work on my business rather than working for other people. So I'll get my
that laying on a sun lounger. You could do that walking up a mountain.
Well,
still
it will be skiing, so maybe not whilst down the mountain.
You're not like broadcasting your offer down the ski slope. I mean, that would
On my
Nice.
myself.
Nice. But Meg, that's a great point in terms of meeting people in the environment in which they are at, right? So let's play off this ice cream analogy. I have an ice cream cone in my left hand. I have a hot chocolate in my right hand, right? If I met Tim right now and I extend my right hand where the hot chocolate is, he's like, get that the hell away from me. Do you know how hot it is, right? He wants what's in the left hand. But for me in cold ass Atlanta, I'm drinking that hot chocolate all day long, right? Because that's what is best for me in the environment that I am in. So being able to meet with the offer based on the environment that person is in becomes critical.
Yeah, so context is everything. And what point they're at when they're interacting with you is also everything. So the context is really important, the how they found you, the why they found you. All of these things help you as the person selling to sell really well. because it's just a matching, it's literally a matching a need to an offer. That's all you have to do. It's like the anti-selling selling. Ice cream on a really hot day with loads of kids. I mean, that's just going to sell itself. You do not need to be an excellent salesperson to sell lots and lots of delicious ice cream. Whereas if you're selling ice cream in -12-degree weather on a ski slope and everyone's freezing their butts off, you may need to zhuzh it up a bit and be like, come try the beautiful flavors. Oh, this is an organic one. It's going to make you, it's got protein in it to make you ski better. I don't know what people do with skiing. Yes. So context is really important. Where they are when they meet you is really important, and how you can position yourself. It's literally positioning is so critical. We forget this. So don't position yourself on the ski slope selling something freezing. Position yourself on the ski slope selling hot chocolate. So what's the really easy yes for your customers? Very, very important. And you can do that through qualifying people onto calls, all of the actions you're taking, all of the message, like asking questions is the simplest way. Ask them what they would like and ask them how they would like it. Literally think about selling ice cream. Would you like vanilla or chocolate? Would you like sprinkles or a cone? How would you like to pay? Cash or card? It can be that easy. Just because we're selling more complicated things and offers that involve more than selling ice cream, doesn't mean the actual process has to be more complicated. The process itself can still be that straightforward. The thing I wanted to also talk about in the last 10 minutes or so is some tactical stuff. So Scott and I are going to talk about this in our session, and it gave me the idea to share it with all of you because I think it's really helpful, because there are different stages in the sales process. And what I generally teach, if you're doing one-to-one selling, so you have a sales call, you have a discovery call, you have a consultation or something like that. Tash, it's slightly different for you because you will go and present or kind of just go and have a meeting at coffee, I think, isn't it? It's not really a pitch so much as a let's have a talk. But it's the same kind of thing. Moving somebody from interested chat to tell me the details. So what's that gap between, and a really good example of this is networking calls. You could have an hour-long networking call with someone who may be a client, may not be a client, you won't know. But the minute you ask a couple of questions on that call and you're actually thinking to yourself, oh, I think this person actually is a potential client because of the things that they've said or the questions I've asked and the way that they're showing up and the interest they're asking me. How do you move that conversation either into a new conversation, which is a sales call officially, so they know that, they know it too, and you have a structure to follow, or how do you invite them to that call in a really easy way? So there's two different kind of routes you can go down. My preferred route is to separate the conversations out, simply because as the salesperson, having the separate container for the conversation is really helpful, because then you're both coming at that conversation fresh. You both have, like, you have a chance to actually have a process and go through the process. You know where you are in the conversation, you won't forget things. Whereas if it's within one call, it can be really hard to then see, oh, where do we get to? Did I cover off the 5 things that we need to cover off in a sales call? Did I ask this question? Did we even get to objection handling? It can be really difficult to just in your mind separate it out. So my preference is usually, if you ask a question and they seem interested and they're like, oh, actually tell me more about XYZ that you do. How does that work? And it seems like you're actually entering into a sales call conversation. what I usually say is, what I normally do is, if you're interested in finding out about working together, is we'd book a separate call, simply because I have a few things that I need to ask you to understand how I can help you. And it's easier for us to do that in a separate, however long, extra call, 30-minute call. When would be a good time for you? That's what I prefer to do. That's what works really well for my clients too. Completely personal preference. If you're a very conversational person and you don't mind, if you don't like process, basically, if the thought of having a process makes you go, ugh, and you prefer just to chat, it can work really well to say, oh yeah, if you're interested in talking about it, I've got some extra time now. Do you have an extra 10 minutes? And I can walk you through what it looks like. So again, down to your personal style and down to what works for you in these interactions. It's going to be different for everybody. Personally, I like to separate it out because it helps me clarify my thoughts. It helps me see where I'm at in the call. But to get them to want to do that, so for example, what may be happening is you have a 20-minute or 30-minute networking conversation with somebody. You're thinking in your mind, this person is a good client, but they haven't said, oh, tell me about this. They haven't put up their hand. They haven't instigated. They haven't said, oh, how much is your thing? Or, you know, they haven't done that. So what can you say in that moment to move them along the journey? And it's really simple. It's going to sound really blunt. So you may want to change this depending on your style, but essentially just saying, okay, this is what I do. Is that something you're looking for help with right now? Such a good, easy thing to say after you've said what it is that you do. Because usually on networking calls, they'll talk for a little bit, you talk for a little bit, you'll have a general chat. But just saying, oh, I see you mentioned XYZ. That's what I do. Are you looking for some help? Very straightforward. You would be amazed at how hard it is to sometimes get those words out if you've never done it before, because it seems so direct and obvious and a bit too, I don't know what the word is, salesy, I think is the word. But I tell you what, it's amazing. They may say, oh, no, not at all. I'm not looking for any support. And you're like, great. So nice to meet you. We carry on the networking. They may say, oh, do you know what? It's crossed my mind. Then you can ask questions. Yeah, Tash.
I was going to say, can you use this kind of method for connection messages as well? Or not, maybe not connection messages, but messages in LinkedIn to your connections. So for example, I could go to some interior designers and say, hey, I've really enjoyed your content because it's, gone the same vein as mine, holistic spaces, healing environments, all of that kind of thing. Obviously worded better, but yeah. Do you work with artists? Do you look for artwork in this kind of way?
Yeah, definitely.
And would you be interested in having a call?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's harder. I think it's harder on a message, especially when you don't know the person, just because you've got these other barriers to kind of sift through, because people are naturally a bit more, I don't know what the word is, but less responsive sometimes. But yeah, I think absolutely asking people that question and just being very upfront with it.
Yeah, and maybe people that you've engaged with quite consistently might be better than like just someone that you've, liked one piece of content once kind of thing. But people that you're engaging with consistently every week over time, it's maybe a way.
I think both work really well. I think LinkedIn is amazing as a platform for this because people want you to get to the point. They want you to waste their time.
Yeah.
So in fact, on some social medias, it's different, but with LinkedIn, it's actually really powerful to be like, straight up, here's the thing I do. Are you interested? Because it just saves them time of like back and forth sometimes.
And everyone's on LinkedIn for business. And it's not like Instagram where you might be scrolling for, fun as well. Yeah.
Sorry, Scott, I'm just gonna
you're fine. You're fine.
Question because I want to make sure that I answer this for the recording when she watches it.
Fine.
So she's been reaching out to more leads. Some following up with leads. Oh, this is such a good question. So she wants to know, how do you follow up with leads without pestering, or whether these are leads who aren't the right fit? Okay. I've had calls and got yeses to sign up to my program. So sounds like you have people saying yes, and then they don't take the action. So this is such a good question. I'm just of the mind that if someone says yes, they're a yes, and also a no until they pay you. So let me explain you what I mean. I always assume the best, as in they've said yes, they're a yes. So everything in my action and my thought is going to be that they are a client and they would like to work with me. Until the moment they pay me, in which they're a true yes. You see? Because what can happen in the intervening time, this happens a lot, by the way, so this is completely normal. People will say yes and then not pay. And then 2 weeks go past and they don't pay. Then a month goes past and you're like, well, they weren't a yes at all, they were a no. So I always like to give people a very specific, this is how you pay, this is when you pay, this is what happens. By this date, if you've not paid, we're not doing it. Like nothing's going to happen. We won't have a call. I won't send you a message. I mean, it's totally up to you. I probably would send someone a message and just be like, oh, you were meant to pay yesterday. We still going ahead? But like that, just assuming that they just forgot. So this is a really interesting one. The thought that you're pestering people is just massively unhelpful. So number one, don't pester them, i.e., if they said they're going to do it and then they haven't paid by the date, they're a no. That's fine. If you haven't set a date, that's a problem. So always make sure that there is a specific timeline so that it avoids any of that uncertainty and so that it does avoid that confusion. So then you can just get back to them and be like, oh, your payment was due yesterday. The first call is today. Let me know if you have any questions. Here's the invoice again. So it's really good to establish the true yeses from the maybes, because what's probably happened is they've been a maybe. They weren't actually a true yes. So it's just about understanding that. We can talk about that next week. I hope that's helped. Any other bits? 2 new messages. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. What I would love, if you go into the platform and just update with anything that's come up. Joe, I'd love to chat to you. I'll send you a message and you can tell me the things that have been going on, because I know we didn't get a chance to talk this session, but then hopefully that can help, and I'll make some notes about things that might support you with this. And I think Borrow Tim's philosophy is waiting for the download from the universe. Instead of the thought I've made $0, which sounds like that's annoying, just be like, I'm waiting for the universe to download my $10,000, and I'm taking all the actions to make that timeline shorter, which is true because you are. So thank you so much. I'll see you all next week. Bye.